we are at the drilling head. As you can see, when you have a 9x9 set of drills, you don't need to put the middle one in, because the drilling spheres overlap. This means you can optimize your drill head, and you don't need to put a drill there in the middle, which is pretty cool. So here you can see another gap. This gives us the opportunity to look through to see how we're doing. As you can see, the cobalt is still up there. We've made a little bit of progress towards it, with testing and also making space for what's behind me. I have an ore detector just in case we come across anything, and I also have a beacon showing the drill head, and this is so that we can go up onto the surface and have a look to see where we are in relation to everything else. Let me come down here. These are the welders connected to the parts feed. The drill's connected to the stone outlet. Now, as I've said before, cyan, if you will, feeds the parts down here for the welders. These things to weld up this continuous array of merge blocks, connectors and conveyor system. So we have stone out, parts in. The grey is with the merge blocks are for stability and also for alignment too, because when you use large pistons, the measurements don't always match up. In fact, if we look at, let's see if we can get to one. There we go. So when we look at the stepping distance, it is not 10 meters, it is not 9.9, it is 9.85. This means that on every step that we make, these merge blocks will line up pretty much perfectly on its way out. But when this back leg is catching up, it doesn't match up. Not quite. So we get a little bit of rattling every time we initialize the step. But it's okay, it works. And because it's an odd step, it means that we end up having two connectors close together. And this purely works out because the step length is weird. So that's the drill end, and you can see how this particular feed lays out. Now here is another walker. It will run exactly like the drilling side, but this time we build the road. And this is where it gets a little bit hairy, because all the welders are hanging off this one point. So it does rattle a little bit. I'm hoping it's going to survive the journey all the way to the cobalt, but I'm not sure. Here's the projector again. Now there's an interesting problem with projectors, and that is when I had the road projector up over here, because it was on the same subgrid, it would not project out. because it was being controlled by this projector. They were working in tandem, and even if I put them on merge blocks, the other projector on a merge block, it still wouldn't work properly. Well, not that I wanted it. And what this means is that when projectors are on the same grid or subgrid, they will work in tandem, which means you can effectively have many blueprints projecting a very large ship, say, and they will work together. But this is not what I wanted here, and the only way I could do this was to build another stepper unit. And as you can see down here, we have our road being nicely projected. Here are all the welders for it, still all vanilla, and they will weld up the road as we go along. Also, we have some of these automatic grinders, and they will take out the merge blocks and the connectors. I found that if they were just set up using the normal block spacing, then they wouldn't grind down fast enough, and so this particular structure would hang up and cause an awful lot of problems whilst it was travelling through. So I ended up having to tune the distance by using a piston. So this means that these grinders will not bind on the connectors or the merge blocks. So this allows it to be grinding as it passes and follows through without any clanging or hold-ups or anything else like that, which is awkward, but it overcomes the problem. I say again, this is vanilla. We have to engineer our way through the problems. Now, what we could have done was load a mod and have a bigger range on these grinders and welders, so we wouldn't have to do all this. But I said no mods. This can be done without any mods if you put your mind to it. And that is what I have done. So all these welders will now weld up the road. This complete road building unit will step at the same rate as the drilling heads right up there. Now I need to test this, so I will do that now, and you can see it in action. So here we are. We will turn the grinders on. We will turn the welders on. Very satisfying sound. And now we will move the pistons so that the whole unit starts moving backwards and welding up the road. You see the grinders working. But the grinders are not obstructing with the stuff it needs to grind down, which is pretty good now. It's really nice and smooth. Now I have found that when the road starts getting welded up, there's a little bit of rattle because the welder's binding box is rubbing against the road binding boxes. So it does rattle a little bit. So just a bit of rattle there. There we go. See it? But it's okay. It works. Now, if I come up here, hopefully without... I'm probably going to die if I go through there. Let's see. Oh, no, we're okay. You can see that the stuff that I want to disappear does actually disappear. So these merge blocks are going, but this grinder is not interfering with the back base plate or the tubes. So this tuning is really necessary when you're in vanilla mode. One nice thing that I've discovered is that this road material, which is from the scientific sci-fi pack, looks really nice. And I discovered that this black is actually this texture, but I gave it another black, so I think this glowy stuff is black and you don't see it. But the upshot of that is it looks really nice. And you get these wonderful reflections, which is fantastic. So imagine a 5-kilometre road looking like this going off into the distance. It's going to look wonderful. There, as you can see, we've cleared away what we don't want, and those parts are getting recycled back into the system, which means we don't have to build so much. If we just leave that running and go and have a look up here where the refineries are. A bit lost without the lights. Basic refineries all throughout, nothing but, and basic assemblers. This up here is an ice feed, so that I can get to my hydrogen bottles. H2O2 conversions for ice, just in case we hit any going across underneath the lake. Of course we can store it. I've had to put in a few more refineries to cater for the amount of stone we're getting. And this might be a problem because I haven't got any cobalt, and I've used it all making this large container. So I might have to start throwing away some iron, because I think I calculated it was going to be about 2.5 million Fe, and that's quite big, so it's not going to fit, so I may have to drain some away and put it in our gravel bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But they all seem to be working, and working rather well, so no problems at the moment. I'm sure we will have a few problems, but currently this is looking good. Looking extremely good. So I'll leave it there, and the next time it will all be working. Before I disappear, this here is all the timers that I'm using. This one's turned off because this is the start. I got two programmable blocks here. The code is what I have written myself, and this is nothing complicated. All it does is reset the LCD panel down below. This one does all the reporting. So what we do, we pass in an argument, which is from the timer, and it just dumps it out to the system. So what, 10 lines of code? Is this a mod? I don't know. It doesn't overcome any problems that I might be having. It is only providing feedback. So here on this particular panel, and helps with the buttons. So no, I don't think it is a mod, because I could actually remove those and it would still all work. So it's just for convenience. Doesn't actually change anything. So I feel happy about that. It's still vanilla. Good. And on that note, we'll see you soon.